in a second to check the video, correct?
Yes.
Alright.
I don't see anything else. It is not pulling up on my phone.
There we are. You see it on that Big Falls Pride? Under our,
Well, you got it.
I got it.
You see us, okay,
And I can see
relax.
us, and maybe I can hear us.
Sounds good. All right, today is Monday, August 18th, 2025. This is a school district of Menominee Falls Board of Education Personnel, Finance, and Auxiliary Services Committee meeting. There is a possibility that a quorum of the full membership of the Board of Education may be in attendance at board committee meetings. There will be no full board action taken at any committee meeting. Only members of the committee may vote on any item on the agenda. A live broadcast will be streamed on the school's district YouTube page. To watch the recorded meeting, please visit our School District of Menominee Falls YouTube site. We are meeting at the Village Hall in conference room 3344 and 3345, located at W156 N8480 Pilgrim Road, Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:47. And was this meeting properly posted?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve minutes from the July 21st committee meeting. Has anyone had a chance to review those notes? Okay, we got a motion by Jesse,
And a second?
second by Jennifer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously. Minutes are approved. We'll go into our discussion items. The first item on the discussion is the draft of the future district office location. Mr. Munoz.
Yeah, so, the village and the school district have, come to a draft agreement, and I've signed it, sent it back to the village administrator. I've not received it back as of yet, I'm just getting has either. So at this point, we're still not in a total, the agreement that the board has approved is not been approved by the village administrator as of this week. I thought it would be, but I have a meeting with the village administrator later this week. But that being said, we have an understanding about that agreement, and it seems highly likely that this will be the last year the district office will be in this location. That being said, there's some topical information and details in the packet that I've not just already brought before the board, but I met with Ben Franklin's leadership team, including teachers, along with Mr. Gofford last week, in order to bring them up to speed on this, including the picture that's in there of Ben Franklin, right? And I've resent that digitally as well, so they have this exact rendering, which is essentially this corner over here we wouldn't be really displacing many things at all. Like I said, I've really talked to the teachers, the principal, have their leadership meeting, their understanding, the timeline, which will be July 1 of 2026, to move into this location for district office. It seems the most reasonable thing to do, given we rent space here at Village Hall. We have below market rent that we were given as really a gift from the village. The expenses and the real expenses are an important thing to look at. We have shopped around, so this isn't just theoretical. We've looked in detail at what it would actually cost for us to find a space like this in Menominee Falls. It's about $200,000 to maintain a similar square footage a year. And we're paying substantially less than that. You can all see that it's about $60,000. So we are getting a very friendly lease right here. That being said, the village is moving forward with their police department expansions, which will envelop this entire side of the building. Those online, we're sitting second floor at Village Hall. So they will overtake this entire space within the next year with additional underground parking and a massive expansion. So being good partners and good community members, we're trying to be as agreeable as possible. We have space in the district. It makes more sense for us to be part of an existing school because we do have space, and that is the current plan. So we're in the early stages of meeting with different groups. I've met with some teachers and obviously administrators over at Ben Franklin. But we've also met with some staff here in order to make sure that we have things correct in terms of safety and what we're looking for in enrollment spaces in order to duplicate the work that we do. We do quite a bit with our business department and our HR in terms of bringing on new staff, but also bringing in new communities to the district. So we do quite a bit of work with that in enrollment, bringing new staff up to speed and that sort of thing. So we think the change, while it is minimally disruptive for staff up here, we don't think it's gonna be much of a disruption to Ben Franklin. Of course, a little bit, but it's really on the other side. It's a way for the majority of the activities of the elementary school. And we're not, there was a lot of thoughts floating around about possibilities, but it's really relatively unused space from when that used to be a middle school. So those that don't know in the community, Ben Franklin used to be a middle school. It used to be actually a K-8. I mean, there was a lot of grades in there, and so there's quite a bit of space. That's why they have probably the largest gym of any elementary school in the state of Wisconsin. And it's a great gym. We're not gonna do anything. We're not gonna change that gym. They have a wonderful music space. We're not gonna change that music space. They have wonderful art rooms. We're not gonna change any of those art rooms. So, so we're gonna stay in that space that used to be the copying room. And then we already have a district office professional development space that we're gonna expand, we believe expand, and then recreate a committee room there. To recreate this room essentially, in that space. So that's the general overview of what we're looking at, but we're in the early stages. We do need to get that signed contract back, so we hopefully will have that back this week. It's obviously unchanged from when the board reviewed it in closed session, but once we have it signed from the village administrator, we'll be official in terms of the process. Caitlin, anything else?
No, a point that David mentioned was that there are no student classrooms displaced. So I think it's really a great solution for us. As we explore all the options of renting and buying other spaces, this is definitely the most financially sound. It's great that we can, be closer to most of our students. We're talking about being next to high school and within the, so it's really kind of a great opportunity for us.
So I know we're at like 8,500 square feet here. Do you know what the square footage of this is?
It's roughly the same.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit more than that.
Okay.
So, right, weren't we looking at
Yeah, I don't have the number in my head, but
92 in the 90s?
yes.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna disrupt any of your operations then?
No.
Not at all. And what we think is that we'll be able to expand and have a little bit larger committee room,
Okay.
just based on, there is actually a professional development room there already. We'll be able to expand into a hallway and recreate this space and actually make it a little bit larger. But also it'll double as a professional development space when we're not having, committees and stuff like that. But also Ben Franklin staff could use it if we're not using it during the day. So there's a dual piece of that. One thing that I did talk about with their teachers and Mr. Gofford was that, and this is happening right now, I think it's great. It's one of those great things about having a district office connected to a school, is it's over our staff, during the day, they can be doing lunch duty, taking some of the burden off of teachers and other staff that are doing those sorts of duties in the middle of their workday. And those are positive changes for those that work in an office environment. It's something that I already do, several of us do on a regular basis when we're out in the buildings. It seems like a small thing, but it can be a huge thing, especially when you're connected to Ben Franklin, but also very close to the high school as well, a couple hundred yards.
And you mentioned like committee rooms, so for like open meetings, are we we make sure that we have, secure access into the school.
Yep.
That no one can come to a committee meeting and wander off and get into the school.
Yeah, so this zone over here, so the committees would be in this large zone in this
Okay.
corner here. And this is next to a receiving area.
Okay,
This is a major receiving area over here, and then this is the kitchen.
okay,
Kitchen, receiving, and then our food service, our district food service office is already here.
okay,
It's already there and it's gonna stay there. So that's a good natural plus as well. And then this is the actual cafeteria.
okay.
And one of the proactive things that we did in the zone, and you can see up there right now, we were just there, Mrs. Winther, myself, and Mr. Carlton. We were visiting all the different buildings today, most of the buildings, and looking at, the roofing project is being completed in this entire zone in Ben Franklin. So they did a really good job over there of keeping that space in our regular CIP.
Mhm.
So that was good work to see in that zone. But we are paying attention to the secure access and a door that might need to move to make sure that it's inside of a secure zone. But I would say that in the district offices in Waukesha County, it'd be very similar to what they have in New Berlin, where they're connected to one of their high schools, their
Yep.
district office. And when I was in there, Dr. Gars is a friend of mine. It's a very interesting space because it's very similar to what we will eventually have at Franklin. Is that there's a long hallway, there's multiple secure doors, and all this space spread along the side. And it's right connected to one of their high schools. As is Hamilton and Pewaukee, and it's relatively common with districts this size.
And I know the parking lot over there, there's like basketball hoops and stuff like that, that's not used for during school.
No, not during the school day. We do have some pickup things that we'll be working on with Justin. We'll have to upgrade the parking lot, but it was set for an upgrade anyway.
Okay.
So there's a couple of things. Most of the work, I'd say 95% of the work, is gonna be similar to the Riverside work, which is, it's reno, checking load bearing walls and, the very good project that is finishing up at Riverside, actually tomorrow, we do the final walk around at Riverside. That space is ready to go. So at 9 AM tomorrow, I'm doing the knock list at Riverside, and it looks amazing, like the library, and so it'll be along those lines.
Mhm.
So it's not a huge, put up walls like you're doing at CD and Rec right now. It's not that.
Sure.
We're more looking at our inner walls and how do we make the space more efficient, handle all the different abatements that need to occur, because it used to be a gym, locker room. That zone over there, on this side over here, back when this was the middle school, this was all a locker room.
Oh, wow.
This was all a gym locker room for this middle school gym. Now, it's not anymore when you walk in there, but you can smell it. And you hear Caitlin laugh a little bit, she knows.
Yeah, it's weird.
You walk into the space, and they've refit it over the last 10, 15 years or whatever, and they did a good job, whoever, they did a good job. A locker room smells like a locker room.
So that's for Caitlin's office.
Oh, it's right next to music actually, so it's not.
Yeah, just know that
Oh, it's really cute though.
Galveston and I will be over here, Caitlin will be over here. But no, truthfully, it is an old locker room, and it does have some of the characteristics of an old locker room, which will have to get metered out. So, but that would be the same for anybody.
And as far as furniture here, is this our furniture or is this the village's furniture?
Most of it, a lot of it's ours. I don't wanna say most of it, but a lot of it is ours.
So it could be transferred.
So we'll look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll transfer everything that we can. We're maintaining the storage space in the basement, that's part of the agreement. We're maintaining the boardroom. So the boardroom usage is something the village administrator and I both felt strongly about. That's in the agreement, which, like I said, will hopefully be signed this week, so. So we'll start rolling on that as soon as we get the signature from Mr. Fitzgerald. But if for any other reason that doesn't happen, I'll be in touch with the board, in my regular updates. Questions?
How does I know we talked about like the cost of actual like building reno and
Yeah.
figuring that in, so I guess what do you, And then just like what you said about like the parking lot and kind of another capital project that was, can't say, memorized somewhere on that list to do in the future. So I guess when do we see like, I mean, obviously this is kind of its own line item, but like, I guess that capital project that isn't urgent, pulled forward in line with all the other deferred maintenance and
Great.
when do we kind of, decide what things are getting the check mark and what things are getting deferred because of this project?
Actually, just today, Chris Carlton with Mrs. Wendler and I, we were doing our annual district facilities check, if you will. And we were looking at most buildings in person, checking on, some of the water pieces, but really looking at the whole district from the CIP perspective. And Mr. Carlton said that one of his priorities in the next, I thought he said month, was to get that CIP updated. What has now been completed, and then reprioritize. And obviously that'll be brought here, because we can really prioritize that however we choose. This would obviously get pumped in there a little bit. But one of the things that I know that we should do, and I think we will, because we've done this at Riverside, we did this at C and Rec, is with projects that we have to do, what else can we do given that we're there? Like if there's something that we can do because we're already breaking into a wall, what can we finish doing for the school that's on the CIP list, right? Like, there's parking lots on the CIP list, guaranteed. Because Mr. Carlton and Mrs. Wendler and I were talking about it. Part of our walk around was, okay, we know that's $500,000 and we're looking at different, parts of the district. So those are definitely on the list. So what do we put together? What do we put together, and that's for this group. But we'll give you an updated CIP.
Yeah, in the next couple of months, we've got a lot of work to do on this, so it won't just be, the gray shaded, it'll be details and numbers, in the next couple of months, because we're on a timeline now, so I know Mr. Munoz mentioned 7/1 is our timeline, which really puts, we got a pedal to the metal now that we've got that agreement, at least on our side, got that agreement, so. Our goal would be a September approval, so this will be committee and then board meetings, and we'll have real numbers and details in the next one.
And I'm not concerned about Mr. Bishop, they've been very busy with the floods. I know they had a special meeting that they called. So he's got a lot on his plate, as do utilities. We have more rain coming today, so those things are clearly prioritized. But I do have a meeting scheduled with them this week in our regular meeting schedule.
Just for my first budget process, with the community meeting and the budget being approved soon, we don't need to do anything with like increasing numbers for capital projects or anything in the budget, because that's all like general, flexible funds that we can pull out kind of as needed.
So we will make sure that we just approved our preliminary budget at our last meeting.
Right.
Last week. So that's what's presented at the annual meeting, and it's the preliminary budget, so a lot changes when we get our final factors for our resident membership count, and then our equalization aid, and then our property values. So there are changes that happen between now and the end of October, so that budget approval is the end of October. So we'll absolutely discuss more, and make adjustments as needed before that October meeting.
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, for example, the loss, and we've had some loss of water loss, but we're well insured. So our losses are gonna be minimal because of the insurance. We have a $25,000 deductible, but we have a few things. But we're gonna take care of by the start of school with one exception, but the rest of that, so those sorts of things probably can hit the budget because we're very budgeted for that deductible. Although it's on a lot of people's minds, including several of us in the room, the actual budget process itself, we allow ourselves the flexibility between September 8th and then the actual meeting in October. It's that the annual meeting is an approval, but it's not the final budget. The final budget comes in October, once we get actual numbers from Madison. We're pretty close, but once we do that, then we kind of have the whole picture in October. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Alright, thank you, Mr. Munoz. We're moving on to the discussion on certified staffing update.
So, we're doing well. On the first side, you go like 6 up from the bottom, there is one that says offer extended, she just, sent in her contract today, so that is filled. We were almost about to say, oh, we're filled. Unfortunately, on the next page, we do, now have a tech ed teacher vacancy. However, Mr. Bauer's being very, creative and has some feelers out there. And we feel that we will have not only our full-time teacher, but we will be having at least some part-time support and hopefully even maybe second semester some full-time support. So we're working on that. It's
And Mr. Gabar and I communicated today, I think he's feeling pretty confident about that.
yes, he's feeling good. So we just don't have anything actually finalized yet, but when we do, we'll obviously update the information, but we do feel like we're in a good place with that. And interestingly enough, high school tech ed is the hardest to fill out of any teacher position.
Absolutely.
So even though we talk about, special ed, math and science a lot, tech ed is actually the hardest to fill. There are more positions in the state than people that will licensure for that position. So we're actually very thankful that we have the one full-time, that we have what appears to be some promising prospects for the other position, so. Oh, we're doing so good, but we will get there. And then, I can't remember if I said last time or not, but we did need to add another 4K section to Shady Lane. And that actually is already filled at the top there, the very top where you can see all our new positions added. So originally we cut a section, a part-time 4K teacher at BF, and then after all the numbers came through, Shady Lane actually had more enrollments than projected, and so that 0.5 is a new add at Shady, but almost like the BF one switched over to Shady, so. And that's already been filled. So right now, we feel like we're in a really good place to start the school year. And we will be welcoming 34 new folks in our teacher group, so all those certified people, to our new hire orientation tomorrow. Tomorrow morning.
Right early.
Yes, and then our certified staff actually spends the whole rest of the week with the curriculum and learning department, special ed department, and I'm sure a few other sprinklings in there. Others, no, I'm done with them actually after tomorrow. Yeah, I leave them to the others. You can only remember so much handbook and, Skyward information, so we try not to overburden them with the excitement, and let them focus on all the trainings they'll need for all the curriculums we have, continuous improvement and all those things. So they actually do spend the rest of that afternoon and the rest of the week with all those folks. So we're really excited to welcome them in and thankful to their mentors. They each have their own mentor who also spends all this rest of the week with them as well. So thank you to those folks who do that work. But
We start at 7:30 tomorrow morning.
well, eight.
That'll be,
Everybody's breakfast.
oh,
If you want, I don't know what time breakfast is gonna be out there, but it'll be out there well before 8. Now the whole world knows. I only have so many donuts and yogurts.
They're good though.
They are good. Also, thank you to School Nutrition for
I just want to.
providing us breakfast and lunch for almost 100 people in total, once we count all the support staff joining us, the mentors, the principals, the district administrators, the board members who are coming. So thank you to School Nutrition for providing us with that, which makes it super easy for us to have those meals together with everybody and welcome them here. So we're feeling really great about the year. I'm actually thinking September. I'm sure by then we'll have hopefully a little bit more information on that one position we have left, and then that's probably it for our monthly updates for our staffing report. We'll bring one more.
Good work, good work,
Any questions?
good work with hiring.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I mean, I think you, Julie, she had to work almost every waking hour over this weekend to get people processed so that technology could meet with these few people we brought in at the end today. So they can have their technology set up so they're ready to go tomorrow, so they can fully and actively participate in anything. So there are so many people working behind the scenes in HR and technology, all the interview teams that have been working, and we're very thankful for all of that. I think Laura Schneider met with 8 people today to get them all hooked up and ready to go. But it means so much to them to actually have a meaningful week. And then the second they sit down at something, they're in there, they're able to do it and work on stuff. So yeah, we're very appreciative of everybody. I personally feel like we turn around a hire quicker than anybody that I'm up here with in this region. So
Nice.
we're very thankful for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Leah. We'll move on to review of substitute teacher data and comparables.
Yeah, so, nobody wants you to advertise their sub information, so it's always anonymous anyway. So actually, Teachers on Call and Mount Kelly Services pulled their data, since they have it all, and she pulled it from 4 other districts that are in this area, Washington and Washington and Waukesha counties, who are approximately the same size in their teacher pool as us, so the comparables were a little bit easier. So they're in the 2 counties that we're very close to, and we're at the top. Now, I will say, I was kind of surprised by some of these numbers, which were, close or worse than ours, but some were better. I think for me, the thing that still really sticks out to me is on the far right side where you can see that percentage difference from year to year, where we're at a 28% increase, which definitely is more substantial than others have seen. I would say it feels like when you actually look at the years, I wouldn't say we're out of the ballpark. This is a pretty big spread. That being said, I don't love the fact that we had almost 900 more requests from the prior school year to last school year, and that 28% difference. It is something we're looking at again tomorrow. That said, the next flip side.
What's tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow, in the afternoon, our leadership team is meeting, so that's all the directors and all the principals and assistant principals and other department heads. We kind of have a beginning of the school year meeting, so this is one of many topics on the agenda, just to kind of get us set for paying attention, to how things are going in your building at the start of the school year, managing requests as they come in, making sure that we're not hurting ourselves. So interestingly enough, even though we had almost 900 more requests, we actually had an over 90% fill rate compared to the prior year where it was 86% and it was lower. So we're thankful for TOC for getting more subs on their books and recruiting more folks and helping us get more coverage. That being said, once we get about 35 requests for teachers, that's when you start seeing a plateau off. So we can usually get up to 35 in a day. Once you start getting over that, it starts to get a little more dicey, and if you're actually gonna get that coverage. And so we really do need to make sure that principals are thinking about us as a collective, right? Because we are one pool. So people who go to the high school, to sub are probably not going to Ben Franklin. I mean, who knows, maybe, but usually an elementary person feels very comfortable over here in the K-5s. Secondary people feel more comfortable over here in the 6-12s. That being said though, we still need to, even as those 2 groups, really think about ourselves as a collective. We cannot approve, between all the schools, 40 personal days on the same Friday or the same Monday. those are already the two hardest to fill days of the week, I think.
And that's an example of the
Yes.
discussion tomorrow with the principals is personal day approval. It's not that we don't want staff to have these days, of course we do. But also other options about professional development for teachers. And how they're accessing subs that aren't necessarily like sick call subs. Sick call sub, you know, if you're sick, you're sick. We're not talking about that. But there are controls that building leaders have on usage of subs. So part of this is looking at these subjective numbers, and I like that other districts' information isn't in there. Because the natural thing that you would do, like I wonder who they are, right? I mean, but it's good you don't know because it is just numbers. So, and then looking at it, if you, this page, the second page, you know, if you're sick, you're sick. So we're not really, it's those personal days, field trips, floaters, you know, it's those things that we do have control over and what can we do to help with that number. So that's those internal discussions.
Well, I would say like any organization, whether you're, I mean, even if you're just a department of 6 people, you can't have 5 people out on a personal day, or you know, or you know, so that, I mean, those are the things, it's like, yes, we want everybody to be able to go see their own child's music concert or
Right.
whatever it is, but there's a point, you know, if you work in a hospital, you can't have, you know, all the nurses in one department off, and those places do like a first come, first serve, where you know, you there's a time frame where you put in for your personal time. Again, sick time is something different. But I mean, there has to be a way that our principals or the district as a whole can manage some of these personal days. And again, I understand, I've been on the receiving end of wanting to go and do something and not being able to do it because 3 other people were already out that day.
And adhering to our handbook strictly. And some of these things we have already in the handbook. Some of the restrictions that we're gonna reinforce with our leaders tomorrow, like not extending a break. Or going into, you know, there's certain things that we've already have instituted. And now it's more about making sure we're adhering to that in all cases, you know,
Well, and
not in different cases, because each building leader has control and authority to approve time off themselves. That isn't go through Leah or me. I approve time off just for those, you know, in the district office space, but, you know, district-wide, you know, what we can do as a strategy to get behind this, not talking about sick. If you're sick, you're sick. If you're, you know, whatever, get better, come back when you're better.
And the other thing is certainly, you know, again, Leah, I appreciate the comments and I agree with you, like it's great that Teachers on Call has been able to get us 85 to 90% coverage, but and I am sure that the substitutes that we're getting are, you know, high quality and doing a great job, but when you, I mean, anytime like the regular classroom teacher is not there and you have a sub, I mean, I have kids who have come home and told me what they've been up, you know, what they're up to the day that the sub is there. And, you know, whether it's because the sub decided to do something different or whether the teacher just said, you know, I have a sub coming, so I'm not gonna, you know, give them this really robust lesson plan, but certainly students are also, you know, suffering from.
And when I look at this data set, the sick and the FMLA stuff, this one district that is a little bit bigger than us. But
They're killing
So it's in the water district.
right?
it. I know,
And like
they're killing it.
you naturally have a question, because
So many questions.
the sick days are pretty close, like they're not out of line, there's not an order of magnitude
I might
difference.
try to figure out who they are.
But that one district, is it health clinic, is it is there something?
Yeah.
Like, my mind goes to internal health clinic or Part D, I mean, who knows? Like something with healthier living, healthier life, I mean, that kind of thing. So I think there's a lot here for our leadership team to look at, and to perhaps do what we can to improve on that.
And what was our cost last year for the subs?
Yep, just so remind,
$250,000.
$850,000, and I don't think we budgeted for all
And
of
those are only the subs through TOC. It does not include the cost of.
That one does.
Oh, that one does,
Yes.
oh, okay, they had a number that did,
Yeah,
so that's a
yeah,
total number. The high school and middle school especially can get a lot of internal coverage, just from the sheer sake that they have block schedules and you have like this dedicated prep. Whereas an elementary school teacher, obviously, one first grade teacher can't go cover for another first grade teacher all day, you know, because you have your kids for a good chunk of the day. So there is just more internal coverage at the middle and high school level, but you know, I think it's just good information to have, to kind
Is
of
it-
look at, it's.
And I would look at it this way, if it's $850,000 of an expense, if we spend $500,000 or let's say $500,000.
There's gotta be, you can't get rid of all
Well, no, but let's say-
$850,000.
Let's say $600,000, well, then you got $250,000 for salaries. Then you have flexibilities or whatever, or
Yeah,
parking
absolutely.
lots or whatever, but that's every year money. So you gotta think that about, that's $1 million every 4 years that you could carve out. That's why this is an important item. Not because people are sick, they're sick, I'm with it, 100%, those numbers aren't out of line. But some of these other numbers, when you look at them, the District 1, if you look at floaters in District 1 and then personal days, it's interesting. It's just interesting. Where they put there's actually a lot to dig into with this data set. So thank you for getting it, because I think it's extremely,
We just wanna have it at kind of that forefront of thinking for principals and staff. Do I have to have this doctor's appointment while we're in school? Can I have this doctor's, I don't mean like an emergency one.
yep,
But just, do I need to go to my annual physical on a work day? Do I need to go to the dentist on a work day? Is there the possibility to schedule around it? Making sure that we're not taxing ourselves by giving too many personal days off on those critical days of Mondays and Fridays, because in case you could guess it yourself, Mondays and Fridays are also the #1 day that people call in sick. So, not only will we likely have our most sick calls, we will also have our most personal day requests. So it's one of those things of just trying to kind of strike that balance of making sure that we're not putting ourselves in a place where we absolutely know we won't be getting coverage because we're kind of hitting that threshold number. I mean, we actually do have a lot of FMLA too, and I will say that, there's really not a lot to manage around that. Once again, aside from people having maybe those non-emergency surgeries not during the school year, Nobody wants to get their knee done over summer, so, but there are a lot of things that are clearly not emergency that probably could be happening, not during the school year. But it's a great place to have a conversation, it's great for people to see, it's just, I think Caitlin knows, just numbers, it's just data,
Yeah.
it's not personal, it's not doing anything other than just saying, hey, these are what our numbers are. And for us to remember, the kind of, coverage we get.
Something you said, just, not trying to problem solve this out right now, it's but just generally curious, you mentioned something about, doctor's appointment, desk appointments, and I could see how working Monday through Friday, daytime job, that being difficult. What is and I understand teachers have contract hours, but with the early release on Wednesdays, is there an out for them to go to a dentist or is that, how is that handled?
I think it depends on the Wednesday, they're supposed to be using them for staff meetings and professional development, because we actually have, a lot less, whole or half professional days compared to other districts. I would say that, I think there is some flexibility there, they still need to use sick time though.
Okay.
So they don't need a sub, so it won't show up on this report, but they will still have to, they won't be asking for a sub.
So that makes sense.
But they would still be using sick leave to cover that time. So I think there is some flexibility there, probably depending on how each school is using that particular Wednesday. I haven't really seen a lot of Wednesdays, but there could be some flexibility. I know principals try to be flexible with people who have something close by, so over your prep period. Normally you wouldn't, leave, but we can let you use an hour of sick leave instead of 4 hours of sick leave to maybe, go to that quickly. So they try to be flexible, and that's one of the things we kind of talk about is not losing flexibility, but also managing it. So yeah, it's just, every year it's just good to have a reminder of anything you can do to be here is great. We support you when you're not, but anything you can do to be here is great. I'm just kind of keeping that.
Anything else? Alright, thank you again. Now we'll move on to discussion item D. Special education teacher and certified specialized services compensation review overview.
Okay. So this is a little higher level, we're not into individual people here or anything, that would be closed session, but I've mentioned before, I don't know where, some public meeting, be it this committee or full board, that this year we actually tracked all of the people who were resigning and retiring and what their salary was, because that's kind of what we're basing our, projections on. And then putting in the salary of the new person that we hired to fill that spot. We had mildly firm caps on those positions, so that principals still had the ability to hire people with experience, but not 20 years of experience. But you could absolutely find people, and we still want to hire people who are also just new to the profession. You don't want to pass up those people, but you could hire people with 5, 6, 7, 8 years of experience as well. You weren't limited. That was for what I would call the easier to fill positions, where we would have, 50, 60, 70, 80 applicants, so your pool is very large. When it came to those hard to fill, such as special ed or, the AP classes at the high school, things like that, we offered more flexibility, because your pool might be 2, 4, 8. It is a fraction of what an elementary pool could be. So we were well aware that while we wanted to make sure that we could have savings to do some things in the budget and for other salary groups, we also would never put ourselves in a position where we can't hire somebody because we created too rigid of a rule. According to principal feedback, and I'm assuming they're not lying to me because they usually are pretty straightforward with me about things they don't like, they were very happy with the hiring season. They feel great about their candidates, the teams were happy with the people that we're bringing on, and one of the nicest things in HR is welcoming new people to the district who are super excited to join us. And so it's really been a great hiring season for that. And so I think we've done a good job of filling all these seats with people who really want to be here and who principals and the staff are really excited to welcome on board. So that being said, we did spend some money already in those savings. I don't even want to tell you how many there are, because I want people to have their fingers in my pot, some money to do some good work with here. But
We're excited to be able to do some things that we've talked to the board about
Yes.
the possibility of doing,
yes,
we've actually done.
yes.
And Leah's gonna jump into those things that, it was theoretical 4 or 5 months ago, it's not theoretical anymore.
Yeah.
So we've been able to do certain things actually, and we're projecting to do even more
Yes,
in the short period of time between now and the 15th of September.
yes, so we're very excited. So the first thing that was public was the actual number, it was like 266,000 and some change, went to helping to balance the budget. So that money was already subtracted out of our attrition savings, went to saving the budget. Then we were able to increase our administrative assistant bands. So we used to have 3 administrative assistant bands, 1, 2, and 3, very creatively named. And I'll say that our administrative assistant 3 band felt competitive in the market. It felt like it was appropriate in the market because, as we know, administrative assistants can be anywhere. That is not a job that is specific to public education. And so band 3 we felt was good for hiring and recruiting people and also even retaining people. Our bands 1 and 2, especially 1, we're not cutting it anymore. they were way too far below any market, and we could just not be competitive, and we actually lost people over the years because the salary for the administrative 2 or 1 band was just too low compared to what they were currently making in an administrative position someplace else. And so we were thrilled to be able to move all of our current administrative 1 and 2 folks to band 3 and then calculate out a new salary for them. So taking their, 10 years of experience in band 1 and putting them at 10 years of experience in the 3 band. Unfortunately, the 3s all stayed where they were, they didn't see anything happen, but we were thrilled to be able to consolidate those 3 bands into 1 band and have those people see that salary adjustment happen, and that already happened. So that was great. The other thing that we did was to look at our starting salary for special ed teachers. It just also was just too low. Other districts were definitely outbidding us by anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 starting for brand new people, haven't even been in a classroom outside of student teaching. So we moved our starting salary for special education teachers, both bachelor's and master's, to $50,000. And then we looked at the teachers who were with us in years 0 to 5, because obviously when your bachelor starting is 45.5 and you make that 50, we had to move anybody up to 50 at least, and then we wanted to have at least a little bit of a spread between those 0 to 5 years. So we actually took care of those people already and upon hire, which we were thrilled to be able to do. And I mean, knock on wood, I hope it continues. We had our best hiring season for special ed, where we didn't have people telling us, oh, sorry, got a different offer at another school district. It actually was a really great year for special ed teachers for us.
So all those special ed teachers, starting sped has been raised to 50,000, and we fixed any compression issues from 0 to 5. And then we're projecting to look at compression for other groups, the special ed.
Yep, so then we looked at 28 remaining special education teachers from years 6 through 40. And all but 8 will be seeing an increase in their salary. So, like I said, I'm not actually sharing names or anything because that is confidential and these are too small to see. But Julie pulled together like a graph so you can kind of like just see the bubbles. And usually what you would like to see on a graph is from 0 to 40, this. A nice low hill going up nice and evenly. We have this. It looks like somebody's heart rate when they're working out, it's just all over the place. And so looks like somebody is really doing something on their heart rate there. So
that last piece isn't totally done yet, but we're looking to have it done.
Yeah, it's not totally done, but I mean, Julie and I sat down, used a little bit of job fair time, thank you to people not being that interested in HR at the job fair. We had a little time to work, and so we literally went we went year by year, bachelor's and master's, and we have now created a perfect spread between all of those teachers. So you no longer have a 10-year bachelor's degree teacher making more than a 20-year bachelor teacher. We have fixed the spread, and when we pull this again, it will be this beautiful hill instead of an erratic line. And so I still wanna go through it one more time, replot it out, make sure the numbers that we have make sense. But we did a quick math, we're still within our numbers that we have, and I think we're gonna make a lot of people happy. And so we wanna get this done before payroll on September 15th. That's the first check in the new pay period for our 10 months certified staff. honestly, it's just nice for them to see it right away, but also retro pay is just a pain. So if we don't have to bother with that, we can get it all done, so.
And just to clarify, this money is coming from the hiring differences between those staff retiring and then the new hires.
Yeah, it's all attrition money.
We use $266,000 to help with the balance of the budget. The rest of it, we're using for compression issues, and we should have that done shortly.
Yeah, so I'm thrilled with our preliminary work that we will now have a really nice spread based on years of service and degree, which is what we use for our special ed teachers. So that was great. We then looked at kind of in a group together, speech pathologists, nurses, and occupational therapists. And once again, we had kind of that up and down graph, and we have now created a nice, beautiful spread for them as well, so we're happy about that. And once again, just for people listening, this doesn't mean everybody is going to see a change, but a lot of people are going to see a change. And then the last group that we looked at in what I call specialized services, were social workers, and we only have 4. So if they're listening, 2 will see something happening, 2 won't, so sorry. We're 50-50 there, but once again, just making sure that our numbers made sense and that a year of service and degree actually followed the pattern that we had hoped to see. Now, I know that, and I do meet with them, and I appreciate the request of the teachers union and, getting things like steps and lanes. I've been very vocal with them, and it's, out there that I really felt that we had a compression issue, and that just giving a step in a lane based on people's current salary still kept them out of whack with their peers. And so
It didn't fix compression.
it didn't fix compression. And so we gave CPI, at the end of the day, that's what everybody agreed to. And I guess I was thrilled to be able to have this money to take care of what I thought was a significant issue. So even though as a whole, people have requested steps and lanes, which I understand, that's something familiar. The bargaining team is actually on the top end of that. So if you got hired after Act 10, you saw a significant stall in your salary because we didn't have that step and lane thing happening. So our biggest compression areas really were what I thought they would be in this 7, and it actually hit almost 18 years, in 7 to 18. So our very, 18 and over was actually pretty stable. And then obviously we already fixed, the 0 to 5 where we had some instability before. And so even though I know as a whole the goal has been getting to steps and lanes, and I actually think maybe someday we can get closer to that, because if each year we can really attack compression like this, then it does make sense to start clapping people in a place on a step and then seeing that happen. But the people who individually come to me with their complaint are compressed people. Their salary is compressed. They know that the person with 8 years of experience who just came, to the district is making, because they had more bargaining power after Act 10, is making more than they are. They know that they'll never get close to their peers who are at 20, 25, 30 years. They'll never get close to them because they are so compressed. And even in a step and lane, they still have all that extra time that they'd have to be moving through those steps to get to where their other 8, 10, or 12-year peers are on that same step schedule. And so I know we couldn't do everything that was asked for, but I really do feel like as a board, as administrators, as HR, we have really tried to take the money that is being saved from this group and push it back into the group in a very specific, targeted way. And so I'm thrilled that we're able to do that. I think every year, if we can pay this type of attention to things and have the approval of the superintendent, finance, and the board, we can tackle our compression issues each year in these layers. And at that point, I think we put ourselves in a better position to start talking about those other compensation models. But I truly believe that you have to fix your compression issues and problems before you can actually go into those other compensation models, which in other districts are already assuming those non-compression issues. And so I actually think we're going to have money remaining to actually push into regular education and find a few very targeted outliers who are very compressed. Obviously, we can't touch, 200 and 25 people, but we might have a little bit left where I definitely know that we have some very compressed folks who maybe we can ease that compression in those areas. We didn't pull those yet because we just finished this.
Our goal in the next 2 years is we have 2 more years of this retirement incentive that'll be out there, that the board has already approved. We think at the end of the next 2 years, so after this year, year 1 this year, year 2, year 3, at the end of year 3, we believe that, we should be able to see, and we're building that money back in for our staff.
Yeah,
We took what we needed to help with the balance of the budget, but we're looking at a problem that we have identified for a couple of years now.
all my years, yes.
Yeah, for a couple of my years here, then years before me, that getting to compression was a needed thing for us to do. And we're excited to be able to do it
And it also just.
with a balanced budget.
Yes, oh yes, no, this keeps the budget balanced. It also makes it easier to bring people in when you're hiring, because you actually have some real numbers. Before, you're looking at an 8-year teacher, what could be between 53 and 65? Just based on how badly we needed that position, time of year, have they been here their whole career, have they come from the outside? So at least now, I'm feeling better in special ed and hopefully in some other areas. We'll have a much better ability to say, well, this is what it is. Because before, that's kind of how some of these things happen, is when everybody is kind of a free agent, I guess they use still, in the teaching world too, when they're talking about people kind of hopping districts to do the best they can for themselves negotiating, which they should. But I think once we see some stability in our own salary progressions, it'll help us make better, more reasonable offers to the people who are looking to come in. So I know we're not making everybody happy, but I think we're actually gonna be making a lot of people happy in some areas that have been expressed to me over the years that they were very concerned about, so.
Questions?
Can you maybe give maybe hard with the variation here, but I guess for special ed, particularly the ballpark of percent that we're looking at increasing, what you just said, someone with 20 years making less than someone with
Yeah.
10 years, I think you said, to me in my head, I'm oh, that sounds like there would have to be a really big jump. But I guess it'd just be nice to have some ballpark of what we're doing.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't wanna get people overly excited, but I feel like there are some on the high end who are getting 5,000 or 6,000. And then on the lower end, trying to see what's the number that looks like it'll probably be lower to me.
2,000, 3,000.
I would say about probably 1,500 to 1,600 on the low end.
Okay.
I mean, there might be an anomaly in here where you already were pretty close and it might just be 500, but most people are seeing 1,000. 1,000 or more, yeah, I'm sorry,
And that's
Caitlin does
beyond,
my math, so I'm sorry.
that's beyond the increase that they already received.
Sure.
Yeah, oh yeah,
So
this
they
is,
received the increase and are
Yeah.
set to have that increase for the school year.
Yeah.
This is beyond that.
and we took their 25-6 salaries.
Mhm.
Sure.
And then we kind of did our work in there. Like I said, every once in a while, inside here, somebody I wrote leave, I mean, just, we're leaving their salary as is because they're already fit in our new work. But most people are going to see 1,000 or more.
And I think, like I said, I think like you said, that it's hard to hire for some of these positions, I think special ed's historically been one here.
Yes.
Can I ask what I know nothing of the landscape of OT, RN, social workers, so I guess why, like, to me, it's like special ed, yes, makes a lot of sense, and like you described with the
yeah.
administrative assistants, like why we needed that, so I was
Yeah.
just curious, is like,
So,
why that group?
kind of those specialized services, as I call them, they're actually also pretty hard to fill. So, speech paths, OTs, nurses, and even social workers, they can also work outside of a school district. And so, it's actually hard for us to compete with the private sector for these kind of medical or medical adjacent jobs, because, I mean, these folks are hard to fill even in hospitals, in nursing homes, in, other facilities that provide these services. And we did some research into the private sector and then public sector, and we were low. Some of our fellow school districts also have these folks on a different scale outside of the teacher group, where they already start at 52 to 55,
They have a whole different
and they
lane.
have a whole different schedule for themselves. So I was really kind of looking at, when you think of your typical student services department, which is your special ed, and then these folks, starting with that department. Now, if the special ed teachers took up all the money, then that was it. But since we had what we thought was a really great spread and still had some money left, we went to our next groups of hard to fill, because we're not only competing with other school districts, we're competing with every other, private sector employer too. And we are actually in a very heavy medical area. There are just so many hospital systems around here and other private sector facilities like that. So that's why we kind of started with those folks who would be housed under that student services umbrella. And I mean, honestly, there's also 20 of them. So the scale of it is also reasonable. That being said though, for next year, hopefully we will have similar-ish savings, and these folks are done. So then we can move on to our larger teacher group, which probably won't see as dramatic of increases, but at least we can start chipping away and creating that better spread.
Seems like a judicious use of those resources, but
Yeah.
like I said, I didn't understand.
Occupational therapist has been a nightmare to hire. Speech path a little bit less, but occupational therapists super hard.
Very different.
And apparently, the new thing now is that they're all getting doctorates. So that's just pushing
That makes it even harder.
the money even further. Out of balance with, I think, school districts who historically, weren't looking at people with that level of degree inside those positions. But once we're starting to get these new folks, they're coming with doctorates and salary expectations that are commensurate with, which they should. But it's been a very quick shift. I think people just getting out of those programs now. When 5 years ago, I wasn't seeing people with doctorates coming. So that one definitely, we also felt like we needed to look at, just because of the changing environment in their education, so.
Other questions?
No,
Alright.
Alright, so it's just, thank you, Leah. Brings us to the end of our meeting, I'm just looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We've got a motion,
One second.
and you got a second, all in favor say aye. Alright, that's 3, we are adjourned at